So my father was telling the owner, my girls want to study aeronautical engineer. And that's gentleman said, it's not possible. This is crazy. They cannot do that. I mean, they are women. It's a very difficult studies, and then there are not too many people graduated, and there are only one company in the whole Spain that will accommodate that. Just they cannot do that. So my father was like, okay. Then my father came one night home, and I say, after dinner, Mr. I will not say the name, will come home, and because he has some advice for you. So he came home after dinner. We never forget the scene. So my mother sitting in the sofa in the middle, my sister and myself by her side, and in front it was my father and this gentleman. He told us that story. And then, I'm talking about those times when the young people cannot say no to the adults because of the education. So my sister and myself, we look at my mother and say, please rescue us here. So she looked at that gentleman, and she just said, thank you very much for your advice, but we have not left Cuba with only $20 hidden in the belt of my husband for you to tell our daughters what to do when they grow up.
Hey, I'm Julia Lopez, communication architect, international speaker, author of Leading High Heels, and your host. Welcome to Brave, Bold, and Brilliant podcast. Together with my guests, I will share with you inspiring stories where being brave and bold were the trigger to becoming brilliant. For the past decade, I've been helping professionals to express themselves with clarity and confidence in any stage and arena of their lives. Communication is key to success, and stories have the potential to transform lives and move people into action. There is someone, somewhere, who needs to hear exactly what you have to say. Be brave, bold, and brilliant, and speak up unapologetically.
Dear Elena, it's such a pleasure and honor to have you here with me. I have to share here with my community how I met you, because I find these are the kind of connections that they are meant to happen. I was giving a presentation 2 years ago in an event, and the room was full, and you were sitting in the very end of the room, and I could see your smile. And from the beginning of my presentation, I was focused on you smiling, and also because you were nodding at me, so meaning you were agreeing with me, so which was a great thing. And after that, you came to me for conversation, and our relationship, our friendship started. And you helped me, you facilitated me the opportunity to give some training for your colleagues at Airbus. And since then, we have been in touch, and we have been supporting each other as much as we can as a good women who are in the mission to support women to speak up. But today, I give the floor to you to share with us here. What are the stories that you have where you had to act brave and bold? I know you have many, in order to become this brilliant person that you are. Back to you.
Thank you. It's Tulia, that in that event I was all ears and all eyes, because where I work, we do a lot of presentations, and in order to do a lot of presentations, you really need to transmit the message. And you just got me with your sentence. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. And since then, I have learned a lot from you. So thank you for having me. And try to answer your question of where I have been brave and bold. Do you want to start when I was little, or you want to start when I'm old?
Well, first, you're not old. Second, we're never old, darling. We're never old. We're just wiser. We are wiser. And well, you, just to give it here, to set the stage, you are in a very male dominated environment, right?
Yes.
And because you are an Airbus, you're an engineer. So I'm sure that you had many situations where you had to say, hold on a second here, I have something to say. So you choose. If that started when you were a kid, even better.
When the people ask me to give, my a summary of my life, if I do a presentation, I always resume it in very small 4 steps. I was born in Cuba. I grew up in Spain. I moved to England. I married a German guy, and now I live in Germany. And for me, who define me who I am is because I was born in Cuba. And we left Cuba because my parents want my sister and I that we are free. Mm-hmm. And by that time in Cuba, it was a communism. So just when I started the early days back in Spain, we arrived in Spain, the 4 of us, my parents, my sister, and myself, with 2 suitcases and $20 hidden in the belt of my father. That's the only thing that we could leave. Everything was left back in Cuba. So
how old were you? How old were you?
I was 4 years old.
Mm-hmm. That was a brave move from your parents.
Amazingly. And somehow I need to honor that. And somehow that's what I think I've been brave and many times bold. Because in my father, they had us very young, they were in the 20s, decided to live the, if you can say, comfort life that we had in Cuba because of our freedom. That says you the rest of your life.
Yes, I can imagine. A decision is about decision to leave the comfort for freedom. It's a big one, huh? And then tell me more. I think there's so much there you can share with us.
So when we started the school, because my sister was a year older than me, she was not allowed. The Spanish system did not recognize the year that she did in Cuba. So we both were in the same class. And imagine, I'm talking here the 70s, and we were wearing the clothes in Cuba that it was even from the 60s, because Cuba with the communism didn't advance in the fashion spectrum, let's put it that way. So I will never forget that the first thing is that, you know how you are children, that they are sometimes they can be very cruel. We were wearing the clothes from Cuba. The trousers came with the zipper in the back. Mm. And then our other peers were telling us, oh, look at the sisters, they are silly. They have the trousers all the way around.
That's funny. But kids can be cruel, yeah.
Out of innocence, right? Because they see what they say what they see. So I remember coming back home, crying. I said, Mommy, everybody's taking, making fun of us, and because of accents, and because of the words that we use in Cuba, they are different from the Castellano, right? Mm-hmm. And in that, you became a sense of survival. And through the mentoring of my mother and the talks of my mother saying, doesn't matter, you don't have to be like the rest. They don't know why you are wearing those trousers. Tell them your story, and then they will understand. That started me to creating me this sense of I had to be who I am, and I had to tell the world who I am, not what they want me to be. And for me, this was one of the best moments that I start being brave and bold. I can tell you another one for bold. Then in this school, we had to wear uniforms, and my parents didn't have money to buy us the uniform. So my mother know how to sew. So she was, sewing our shirts and the skirts and so the uniform. And I will never forget that when she was doing the shirts, the collars, one collar was here and the other one was here, like one longer than the other. And we were like, Mommy, this is not working right. I said, don't worry, darling. It's just a question of ironing.
She was a vast problem solver.
So we had to be very bold, because we used to go there. And what it was the most amazing thing that we just discovered is that because we didn't have money, my mother did all the clothes for us. And when we were we was a Catholic school, and the nuns were really good to taking care of us, being honest, and trying to make us, be brave and bold. And they in a summer camp, we went there. And my mother even did the backpacks because we didn't have money to buy backpacks. And we were so ashamed because they were made out of, they were red. And my father put a garbage bin inside to make it, waterproof. My mother was doing the clothes that we were doing just for sleeping, and even the linens for the beds. And they were like doing she was going to go to the cheapest places to buy the fabric and then sew it. And for example, for the linen of the beds, she put like dots because the fabric had holes. So she put like dots, like decoration to cover. And we were so ashamed, and everybody wanted to use it because they said, oh my God, they are so unique. We didn't have that.
That's so interesting. I already love your mother. I need to meet her, because I can see here from what you're telling me is the foundation of someone to become resilient and to always look for solutions. And you said something, you said the magic word there, and in a moment, tell them that your mother said to you, tell them your story. And this is the way it always should be. We all have a different story to tell. And now let's move fast forward. When Elena decided to become an engineer, and when was that? And then how you landed where you are right now?
That's as well an inspiration that happened. So when we were around 13 years old, I think it was 13 years old, around that, we went for a holidays to America to visit our family. It was the first time that my parents could afford a ticket so we can visit my aunts and uncles that we were living scattered through America. And we spent a week in Houston because my aunt and my uncles were living in Houston with my twin cousins, and they took us to NASA.
Wow.
That was it. It was like, wow, right? Just to see the spaceships, the astronauts' outfits, the samples of the rock of the moon. And I remember my sister said, I know what I'm going to be when I grow up. I'm going to be an astronaut. And I said, okay. Then the time passed by, and it was time for the university. And my sister was, I'm going to be an astronaut. I said, so she kept saying, I'm going to be an astronaut. And my sister and me studied the whole time together. So I was thinking of doing some other things, but I said, no, I want to stay with my sister. So I'm going to be also an astronaut. In Spain, by that time, you could not have that career. It was only aeronautical careers, no aerospace careers. We tried to look for America. Forget it. Didn't have money for that. My parents could not afford it. So we ended up being aeronautical engineers. But the most interesting part, and I put that in the book that I participated this summer.
I have it here. Let me just show it here. Or for the ones listening, they want to be able to see, but I can put a picture. Latinas in aviation. Yeah.
We talk about that one later if you want, but I put this story. So when we decided to study that, then my father was working as an accountant in a company, and the owner, my father was telling the owner, it was in a how do you say that in English? Optic business, where they say glasses and contact lenses and so on. So my father was telling the owner, my girls want to study aeronautical engineer. And that's gentleman said, it's not possible. This is crazy. They cannot do that. I mean, they are women. It's a very difficult studies, and then not too many people graduated. And there are only one company in the whole Spain that will accommodate that. Just they cannot do that. So my father was like, okay, right. and then my father came one night home, and I say, after dinner, Mr. I will not say the name, will come home, and because he has some advice for you. So he came home after dinner. We never forget the scene. So my mother sitting in the sofa in the middle, my sister and myself by her side, and in front it was my father and this gentleman. He told us that story, and then I'm talking about those times when the young people cannot say no to the adults because of the education. So my sister and myself, we look at my mother and say, please rescue us here. So she looked at that gentleman, and she just said, "Thank you very much for your advice, but we have not left Cuba with only $20 hidden in the belt of my husband for you to tell our daughters what to do when they grow up."
Oh, I love your mother. I'm telling you, that is the brave woman. These are the women we have to have as a role model. Now I understand where your power comes from, Elena. It's clear, it's genetic.
It was like a wow, mother, that was fantastic.
Absolutely. And then when you got into so you went to the university there in Spain.
But the time that we studied in Madrid, in the whole Spain, there was only one aeronautical engineer university, and we got there. Mm-hmm. And we were 4 girls and 120 boys.
And how was that? Not easy, right?
The majority of the professors were from the aerospace, so from the military, from the air forces. So to see, and I'm talking now, it's completely different. Now I'm so proud because being right now, Spain is one of the most balanced in engineering in gender, more than in Germany, more than in England. And I see my work in Airbus that we have sites all over the world. The one that you have equivalent of men and women, the closest is Spain. So now in Spain has changed. I'm old.
No. Again, we are wiser. Wiser. Right. Let me ask you something, because I experienced something in school, and I was not it was in high school. Okay, it was a mixed school, and I was very good at maths. I really loved maths, and I had an experience with a math teacher that he completely ignored me in the class. Every time there was some kind of exercise to do, like do this and let's see who gets the right answer. I would get the right answer. He'll never acknowledge me. And that drove me absolutely insane. Did you have any experience like this in your university, like being the 4 girls and 120 men, I guess?
The one that really impacted me a lot, like make me even more aware of the situation, it was the first year. You know, that you are totally naive, you go with your fears, you come from, imagine from a non-school only girls to a world completely different, 100 people in the class. And by that time, sorry to say, no emails, no internet. So every time that you get your marks, you have to go to the professor office, right? And this was the first exam that we had done, and it was technical drawing. And because we were 120 odd pupils, they divide us in chunks of 20 to go to the office, and then they will give us the marks. So because we are Alvarez-Camps, we were the first ones on the list, most of the first one. So the 21st bunch of people, or students went there, and then he was going, you know, with the alphabetical order list. And then I will never forget, he says, "Who is Rosa Maria and Maria Elena Alvarez-Camps?" So my sister and me say, "We are?" I say, "Okay. So Maria Elena, you have very good marks, better than your sister." And then, you know, I was with a smile like, yeah. And then he goes like, "You have a 2.5 and your sister has a 2. In Spain, to pass, you need a minimum of 5.
It's 1 to 10, right? The grades?
1 to 10.
It was like my time was the same, yes.
So can you imagine the laugh behind us of the boys?
Yeah, that was very mean.
But he didn't stop there. He would have started, but he didn't stop there and say, "But you know, to not worry, because I'm sure that you are not going to finish your career. And even if you finish it, I'm sure that you will never see an aircraft. The maximum that you will do, probably you're going to design brass."
Design brass. It's so offensive, isn't it?
It was not so offensive. I never take things too offensive. The designer of a bra, it was one of the most famous bras. It was Howard Hughes. You remember Howard Hughes? So this was from the 30s, inventor and a pilot, an aeronautical engineer, and he was became very famous as a producer in Hollywood.
So this is why he made this analogy. Right. I get the point now. Yeah. Okay.
This Howard Hughes was doing one of the his movies, he wanted that the ladies, the actress, looks really,
good.
a lot of good. So,
voluptuous.
Right. So he designed what is called the bullet bra. The one that later on was famous. What is this? I forgot the name.
Madonna.
Madonna, right. So it was this type of bullet bra. So he designed it. So that was the analogy that he did.
I see it. I see that. But was it still mean, right? Yeah. So then when you finished your university, how was it to get your position, like to get started? You went straight to Airbus, or what was the path?
So while we were finishing the last year of our studies, in the blackboard, there was an advertisement that if you could do like an internship. But that time it was not called Airbus, it was called CASA, Construcciones Aeronáuticas. So we applied and we got it. And my sister started working in the electrical department, and I started working in the copy department as an internship. Then that summer we finished, and then they were happy with our jobs, and then we continued working on that.
So your whole professional life has been in Airbus.
And guess what?
Yes.
I remember when we had the interview that it was in a new building and they didn't have the separations between the different offices. So imagine when my sister and me entered to have the interview, we came together, the assistant came to pick us up, and it was in the break time of the factory. So when we were coming in, all the men were looking at us. And it was like, oh my gosh, like, what is this? And I will remember that when we came home, we told my mother, we are going to be working in this, but just to earn a little money because we don't want to work in that environment. And then we never left.
Amazing. And what were your biggest challenges there in your career in such an environment? Yeah.
The first one, because you are young, you don't have experience, right? So that they don't see you that, and you were in unusual, unique, because we were not many. Actually, again, I think in our floor we were 5 or 6 ladies, and so it was just to make that they see you as a peer. So the challenge for us was that they treat us like another peer. Not that something different, because again, we were not that many, we were 4 or 5. And it was just to get that respect that they don't see you like the niña. So that was for me the biggest challenge.
And how did you manage that? That was among your peers at the same level as you, or with your superiors? How was it?
I can tell you that it was very interesting because it was at every level. Every level. This doesn't depend on your level. It depends of the type of person you are. It's human behaviors. So there were people that had no problem whatsoever that you were in that world because they accept you as a one-to-one. And then there were people that were thinking you should be, home because you are a woman. So this doesn't go with the level. It goes with the
mind and the character of the person. It's interesting because, well, we know that, but I remember, Elena, when I went to give the workshop at Airbus that you facilitated, which was awesome with those ladies. They are very eager to have a strong voice. They were all in leading positions. And we know that there were a lot of challenges there in terms of the communication, right? And this is one thing that I'm always preaching and I'm always pushing, because we women, we need to learn how to communicate in certain environments in order to be heard. Then once you heard, you can then speak the way you want, but before you have to find a way. And how was this experience for you in your process of growing? Because you are someone now that you have a strong voice in your industry. I know that. I've been following you, and you're also someone who are there pushing gender diversity and inclusion in every opportunity you have. You're speaking up on that level. So, but of course, we know this doesn't start from one day to another. Share a little bit what led you to that path.
I will have to come back to my origins. I will have to come back of what I'm standing for, and a lot of phone calls with my mother, like, Mommy, this had happened to me, and this, whoever has told to me, because I can tell you many stories of, that really they were trying to push you down. And also I can tell you many, many stories that they can pull you up. So it's a question of believe in yourself, have a mentor.
Surround yourself with the ones who can lift you up. I remember quite well that you told me that in that event that we met, you were with a guy there and you told me he is my mentor.
And you see, he was a man, and I brought him to the women, and I say, I want you to let them know how good we are. So that's what I'm so advocating in diversity and inclusion. I am not proclaiming that we are in a male-dominated world. We are where we are. So is this so what? Is what do you do with it? Because I can tell you as well that one of the worst experience that I have had with top management, they were women. So we are not angels neither, right?
No, not really.
So it's a question of behaviors. It's true that you have certain traits because of your gender, but it doesn't matter if you work, if you know who you are, and if you are secure or you really understand who you are, and you know where you want to go, you can overcome everything. And this is what I call is resilience.
There's one thing that I've learned from this lady who I follow. She is a top HR host. And there's a talk that she gives, and she says something that I took from me. I took it. She says, ladies, you have to learn the rules of engagement, meaning everywhere you go, every context has different dynamics. And doesn't matter if it's a man or women, but we have to learn how the dynamic, and we can make an analogy as when you're playing games. If you want to play a game, you need to learn the rules of the game, how the game is played. So once you learn that, then you can start considering becoming an influencer, someone who has a voice and a potential change maker. But before, you need to learn the rules, because if the fact is, even if you're saying that it doesn't matter the context, etc., but we know the reality is there. But if you come very naive, on the sense also insecure, that you were waiting that the typical stereotype of working hard, everybody was going to see how good I am, and then I'm going to succeed, you're going to be there in that corner. I have here a book with me. Where is it? It's not here with me. Oh yes, it's here now. I read this book a few years ago. I'm going to read it again. And it says, nice girls don't get the corner office. So there are moments we have to really to kick some lovely balls.
For me, it's something that I hear so much. When, for example, if you see somebody that is, you have, nice shoes or a nice dress, or, if it's a man, a nice suit, I always say, when I see something that I like, I say, oh, I love your shoes. Or if I tell to a man, oh, I love your suit today, they say, thank you. If you tell that to a woman, oh, I love your shoes, or I love your dress, or I love your, oh, it was only 20 euros. Oh, just say thank you.
The pattern.
Say thank you. Why do you have to justify who you are?
Exactly. It's because we always have to justify why we are investing in ourselves. And this is a very complex topic, because we are so much into that. Even like you from what you share here with us, you come from a strong family with values and a strong mother who was very independent and pushing, but it's still because your surroundings behave in a way, we fall into those traps. I have to monitor myself, to be aware of not doing that. But once you have this awareness, then you are in control. But it doesn't mean that there will be a moment as you say something, I should not have said that way, right?
Yeah, and if you said it, you don't have to be punished because you said it, because that's another thing that is typical woman. Oh my God, what I said. And for 3 days, if no more, you are thinking, oh my God, what I have said. You said it. Wrong, you move on. This is something that also differentiates us from men. They make a mistake, they go say, human, we don't, but no, because we want to be perfect. It's like, oh my God, oh, I shouldn't. No, you did it, move on. You learn your lessons. You are not going to do it again. One sentence that I love that my coach taught me. I became a coach because of I was receiving coaching sessions to a talent program in Airbus, and one of the outcomes of the coaching sessions is that I became myself a coach. So today I'm also a coach, and one of the sentences that I love for my coach, Katia Bosser, is that you had to be as woman as possible and as man as needed. That is the sentence that you said. You had to play the game.
That's an awesome one. You have to be as woman as possible and as men when needed. As needed. Yes. Oh, I'm going to steal that from you have to share the name of your coach so then I can quote her. That is amazing. And that is the thing, because of course there are some women, we have different levels of energy, and we all have the masculine and feminine energy. I know I have a very strong masculine energy because I'm very but I balance. And some women, they have more feminine energy, and that can be more challenging for them when they are in these kind of environments, because the perception people have from them, it doesn't mean that they are weak, they lack confidence, nothing. It's just the perception that what they give, the message they give with their body, with the way they speak, give people a perception of them, and that creates a behavior towards them. Yeah, and then sometimes they would have to fight more for positioning themselves, as the other way around also applies. Some women who have a very strong male energy to be more soft, and sometimes it takes them they have to work for that. But tell me here, I want to share that you share with us a story, one of your many stories, where you had to be brave and bold in your work environment. Something that happened, you said, I'm going to kick some buckets here.
There was one experience that I really like, that I was selected to become part of a task force to deliver a program that it was late, and I will not give you the details. Just to explain you the environment. And I was the only woman among, I think we were 20 odd people. And these 20 odd people were already meeting previously, but I was being new as a task force member to try to help to speed up the program. And I was always seeing the dynamics of and the conversations. And for me, it was something saying here, we are making this complicated. It's not that I was having the feeling it's not that complicated. And what I was having the feeling is that not all of them were understanding what was the purpose of the program. So we know when we had to deliver it, but we didn't know really what we had to deliver. So I was thinking, saying, shall I be Elena or shall I not be Elena this time? So being both or not both. And I decided I'm going to be Elena. So I stood up in the first task force meeting that we had, and I just put a square on the top. It was a board. I put a square on the top and a square on the bottom. And then I said, I know that we had to deliver this by da, 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 da. I wrote the date. And I said, but what I'm not too sure is really what do we have to deliver? They were looking at me like they were killing me.
What the hell are you talking about, lady?
We have been doing this for 2 years, and you said that you want to know. And then, so the person said that, I say, this, how can you say that we have been working this for that, and now you are saying that you don't have it clear? And I say, well, then forgive my naivety and being a newcomer. Can you give me the answer? It will take 2 minutes.
Very good. That's my girl.
How long did it take to get the answer?
And then
1 hour.
Of course, that's the thing. Yeah, when you were saying, you started this telling us the situation, the context, and what came to my mind was like, oh, they were not listening each other. They were just talking, right? Because if they were listening, they would have the same perception that you had as an outcomer. I don't understand what you're talking about. Very interesting.
This is something that I also learned, that to be bold is not bad. To be vulnerable, it is a strength. You know, Brené Brown, we all now know Brené Brown. To be vulnerable is one of my core values.
That's absolutely. Yeah, but there's a thin line there about vulnerability. I was talking to a person the other day about this actually. And for me, it's like showing your vulnerability is showing your strength. Like meaning you are open enough, you're brave enough to share something personal, because it's something personal when you're sharing your vulnerability. However, what is we have to have in mind is certain things, emotional stories, if they are not healed, you have to be very careful, because if you touch that button, and you're not ready to show the vulnerability, instead of falling apart, breaking down, that is a big difference. Because coaching women on speaking, and this is one question, because we know women are more emotional in most cases, but that's not the rule that only women are emotional. But we take emotion a different way. And I always say, sharing tears on stage, that's no problem. It just shows you that you're human, and that what you're sharing is something that matters to you. But sharing tears of really showing your vulnerability, or tears of joy, or tears of sadness. But the other thing is breaking down and then losing control, or escalating something that's not there, just to trying to create an impact, is another story. No. So we have to be careful with the vulnerability, the definition of it, to make sure that when we share something that's authentic, and something that we are prepared to share.
It's a perfect definition, Julian. For me, this is what vulnerability is to be open and saying, in this case, I was not perfect. I didn't know, but I didn't have any problem to show. And what I wanted is to solve the problem. And to solve the problem, I need to know the origin. So completely agree with your sentence.
And Elena, before we go, because we are here, we could talk forever. It's so awesome. Like all the ladies I'm bringing to this space, it's very difficult to stop the conversation. But let's share with us now. Brag about yourself. I know you have done brilliant things, and knowing you for only 2 years now, but that you have lots of achievements, and that you are this person that you come with your beautiful energy, your beautiful smile. But share with us something that you're really proud of yourself, that you look at yourself in the mirror and you say, I'm very good on that.
That I have written a book, a chapter of a book.
Yeah, that's here, Latinas in Aviation. Yes.
And I have to say thank you to you, because you put me in contact with the amazing Jackie. It's a journey. It was
another power woman. I interviewed her, so I will share her story as well. But then share now something personal. You alone, Elena, don't be modest.
What do you want me to share? That a moment that I'm brilliant.
Yes, that you were super proud of yourself.
That's a very good question.
I see a pattern happening here.
I will tell you what I call my magic moment. And my magic moment is when my daughter graduated last year from high school, and we were in the graduation day. And that graduation day, my son was also there. And then I asked him to do this, the typical James Bond picture, that the guys there and the girls, because it was only my son, my daughter, and the rest of my niece and friends, and all were girls. So I was taking that picture. And when I did click and I saw the image on the camera, and I say, those are my best products. If tomorrow I'm not here, they're going to be there for each other.
That's so awesome, Elena. Thank you so much. Yes, that's a good one. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. And I hope this, it will inspire. And we want more women in aviation. And as I mentioned to you, my niece is already studying aeronautics back there in Brazil. So we need to have more women with big wings and flying like you.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me, Julia. And we keep working together.
That's all for today. I hope you got inspired to raise your game and be brave, bold, and brilliant. Make sure you listen to my other podcasts. Stories are great sources of inspiration and transformation. Subscribe. Remember, there is someone somewhere who needs to hear exactly what I shared with you here today. Be generous and spread the word. Give your feedback and help grow this awesome community. Until then, be brave, bold, and brilliant, and speak up unapologetically.